Hi everyone, Rafael Harry here, and you're listening to White Label American, a podcast where we hear stories from an immigrant or two, sometimes more. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of White Label American. Thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate everybody on the front lines, and we appreciate all our viewers who've been showing love, sharing the episodes, and giving us 5-star reviews. If you haven't given us 5 stars, go out there and give us 5 stars on iTunes and Stitcher, and keep sharing with your loved ones and friends and spreading the love. And not only with our podcast, and show love to other podcasts that you listen to, because without our 5 stars, we can't really survive out there, especially for independent podcasters like us. So without much further ado, I introduce today's guest. Dr. Rafael Grossmann is a surgeon, educator, speaker, and patient advocate, healthcare futurist, and an immigrant. And he's someone who I've learned a lot from just watching his videos and hearing him speak. It's like mind-blowing how much, information. I say if you meet a Rafa, you naturally just learn stuff from a Rafa. Your life changes. But this Rafa you're going to meet today is a whole new world. You're going into a brand new dimension, So after doing his surgery in Ann Arbor, Michigan, he developed as a general in trauma, advanced laparoscopic and robotic surgeon, and now practices in Maine. I hope I didn't kill that word. That's my first time. That's how you know I'm not a medical guy. He's also a multiple-time TEDx speaker. So welcome on the show, Dr. Rafael. I will go with Rafa, So welcome on the show.
Rafa is good, Rafa. We'll go Rafa and Rafa. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to to spend some time with you guys in here, sharing some experiences and learning from you.
Oh, well, it's all about learning. If we stop learning, I think we are dead already. So let's begin. Where were you born, and what was childhood like for you?
Oh, I'm from Venezuela, Rafael. I'm one of 8 kids, and I was born in Caracas in Venezuela. That's where my family has been for the last few hundred years. My first relative got there in the 1800s, and I was raised there, and as you can imagine, a family of 8 siblings, running around and always busy and always having someone above you and below you.
You're the second guest on this podcast who was from a family of 8 siblings.
Oh yeah. No, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and we have a very large extended family. Every day, everyone lives in the same city or nearby area. During those times, and it was very active, and a lot of helping each other, a lot of fighting with each other, a lot of how kids are.
Yes.
But always with a sense of family, and my mom and dad are very special people. Thank God they're still healthy and alive. And my dad is mid-90s, and my mom is around 90, and they have 23 grandkids, and it's a big family.
That's beautiful.
They have great grandkids, 9 great grandkids.
That is.
And I went to med school there.
Wow.
So I went to med school in Venezuela, and for 7 years I went to med school, and then I had to do a year of rural practice, which is the way we sort of pay our social debt, in Venezuela, because med school is free. I must have paid $100 or a couple $100 for med school.
Yeah.
But then you have to do a year of rural practice, and I did that in a very underserved area near the city, about an hour or so. I was still living in the city. Luckily but it was really a life-changing experience, because you're the doctor of, serving a community of hundreds of thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
In the last year of med school, I spent 3 months in the Amazon during my rural internship practice. I wasn't a doctor yet, but I was like that, the doctor in the middle of nowhere in the Amazon. I talk about
Hmm.
that in a TEDx I did in Bermuda.
Yeah,
It
I
was
listened
quite
to
an
that
experience.
TEDx, and it was like, wow, it was mind
Yeah,
changing, and I'm going to add that TEDx to the show notes because I think everyone should listen to that because
yeah. Thank you.
there's a
Yeah,
lot for people to learn in that. And it's not a long video, which is
no.
but there's so much that's contained in that video because it's just it's mind changing and mind blowing. Yeah. So staying with your childhood, what's your favorite childhood memory?
I think the favorite memories are always around, probably around being with family at the beach. Being a kid at the beach, and always being outside. Running around and discovering new things. That's
Mm.
probably the best memories out there.
That speaks to who you are today, the discovering of new things.
Yeah, always exploring.
I always exploring. Well, I think that's one thing that we kind of you know try to deny children nowadays the discovery part. We act like sometimes children should behave like adults, like live a rigid lifestyle. We try to deny children that right of discovery. In this age of protection, of being so protective around children, and sometimes we forget that children are supposed to discover things and explore. And I think that's what some of us who grew up in places like I was born in Nigeria, and we just ran around and we're discovering stuff. But we thought we were just running around playing, being careless. But in doing those stuff, just running around thinking we were carefree, we're discovering. We're discovering how far we could go. And like someone who I interviewed yesterday talked about how he helped his friend avoid a beating from his dad I think he was around age 11. But back then, he wouldn't think about it as taking a risk to climb walls to go, sneak a key to his friend to escape through open the window for his friend to escape. Something. But as kids, you were taking those kind of risks to do things like. But it was part of exploration, doing stuff like that. But I think those are things that kids had to discover on their own. And sometimes we like, no, no, we try to box the kids in. And we just have to
Yeah,
allow children explore and discover things. I think it's something that in this day and age, sometimes we just take that protective spirit way too far. That's how I feel sometimes. I have a daughter who turned 2 in August. And sometimes when she's going on her rampage, I'm like, yeah, just do your thing. I mean, I have to still clean up, but yeah. Uh,
yeah. You're right. You're right. Absolutely right.
uh, so, um, for a man who's about, let's still stay in Venezuela a little bit. So, you mentioned, you went through, before you go to your medical school, and before you decided to go into medicine, what inspired you? What set you on that path? What was there somebody who was a role model, or was there something that happened, or there was something that inspired you that made you say, "This is the field I want to go into," or what lighted that spark in you?
It's hard to tell, Rafa. My father is a surgeon. My father's a surgeon, so that always, impresses upon kids. I think what your parents do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my grandfather on my mother's side and her father were also physicians. So I had that maybe that genetic bug in there, you know. But we were 8 kids, and I was the only one who went into medicine, so I can't attribute that to
Mm.
my father, but always, there's a big role model there, and see how he would give everything for his patients. we would travel, go on a trip, for the weekend, 2.5 hours away or something, go to the beach or something. As soon as we got there, he got called or something,
Yeah.
and he had to go back, leave us there and go back and then come back and then get called back again. It was such a life of sacrifice, I thought, and I think that in a way that probably resonated on me. How you can really be so passionate about what you do, that your family is first, but you got this other commitment that is as important as your family almost, and you're really trying to make a change in the world, by one patient at a time. And I think that to me was very, very inspiring. As much as I think about it, the more I think about it, I think that that's probably it. But I also like biology and sciences and exploring. I was always curious, and
Mm.
I guess I always like it sounds cachet, but helping people. I guess I always like the being there for people, and so that's and I always like to do things with my hands. So I always fixing things and cutting things and building things, and so maybe that combination got into some shape when I went to high school, and then after, and I thought medicine is probably the thing to do.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I can see all that, and I think you already began to see a picture of how of something of what it was like to have a passion and recognize something that was bigger than you.
Yeah, I always like to. I remember, when I was a kid, I was running around in the backyard, and we had chickens, and I think my little sister, she fell on top of a chicken, and she crushed the chickens,
Oh
and the
no!
belly opened up.
Oh no!
That was my first surgery. I think I took the little chick, and fixed him with
Wow!
just I put some talc on top, and he survived the night. I put him in the ICU in a box in the laundry room. And then but that was kind of the thing, to try new things. So
Wow! So, you've also described yourself as a disruptor in the established and traditional medical space. While you were going through medical school and your early days in the medical field, especially back in Venezuela, which I'm assuming, based on the Nigerian style, is will be more on the, I would say, conservative style of medicine, if I'm not mistaken, especially for back then. Will the did they accept a disruptor? Were you considered a disruptor in your early days, or were you accepted as a disruptor when you began?
I think I probably was. I think I just tried to. I guess thinking back, things need to make sense, and sometimes the established norm and the ways of doing things traditionally uh, really didn't seem like the right thing to do, or the best thing to do, so I always I remember in anatomy class, we had a professor that always was very vague on what he taught in anatomy, and he always told us that we had to do everything, learn everything, and there was no guidance, and it's impossible to learn all the anatomy,
Mm.
and so we were studying with no guidance in a way, and I think back, and the only thing I remember about this professor is that he kept saying, if there is a way, there is, if there is a will, there is a way. And so I remember that in the exams, all I do was drawing. So I didn't write anything. I would just draw. I love to draw and
Yeah.
paint. So I would draw, all the bones and all the muscles, and so I end up with pictures of anatomy stuff. Kind of disrupting the way that I was taking the test. Since he had a disruptive way of teaching, I had a disruptive way of answering and telling him my knowledge. But I always was a little bit of a rebel, I think, in that sense. Trying to do things differently, and when you have the tools, and when the tools evolve, and you think that there's maybe a better way to do things, or a different way
Hmm.
that makes more sense, then I kind of went for it. So I think that I was early on a little bit I don't want to call a problem kid, but a disruptor is a nicer word.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think uh, we've had the wrong way of looking at disruptors for some time. It's like the negative connotation has been thrown to disruptors. Like, oh, they always have a nefarious plan. That's like
Yeah.
they have a nefarious agenda,
Yeah.
and without questioning why is this person coming with this, or why is this, or why can't we hear what this person is about first before reaching that conclusion that this person has a nefarious agenda, and then we hear the person out first, and then come to the conclusion. And then it's like, no, 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 no. As far as everybody has been doing this, going on this line like ants going in a straight line, and then maybe a leaf drops. I've forgotten what that experience called, and like you put a leaf on top of the to interrupt the ants, and then it's like, oh, they're all stuck then, and nobody's going. Nobody, the ants are now stuck, and then it's like you can go around that leaf, and it's like, oh, no, no, no,
Yeah.
we're not moving anymore. We're stuck. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can go around. And if somebody comes and say, let's go around, problem. No, that guy's a problem. Why are you going to go around? We should be going on a straight line. We should go on the straight. We've been doing that for thousands of years. We should be doing that. And, but I grew up in a mentality like that too. Like, soon as someone came and said, oh, why don't you go around? And like, who are you? Why? Why are you talking like that? Why are you telling me to do this? What are you up to? That's no, no, no. I don't. Why should I listen to you? And then later on, I was like, wait, that person kind of made some sense, and yeah, maybe I should try it. And then, oh, okay. It's not like the person was some snake oil salesman or something. It was actually the right thing the person was just telling me to do. It's not. There was nothing nefarious about the person. It was just and then you're like, yeah, that's not, and it just seemed like, I don't know how it's began, but it just seemed like the word disruptor. Because I think disruption just, first time I ever heard about that word was negative. It just came to my mind. It's a negative thing. Nothing good can come out from disruption. And it would take a long time for me to rewire my brain that, if someone is described as a disruptor, it's not a bad thing. So now it's not like as soon as I hear a disruptor, I was like, oh, I want to know who that person is. What's that about that person? I want to know why that person's a disruptor, and then before I now reach a conclusion. So that's one thing that attracted me to you. As soon as you're described as a disruptor, I was like, oh, I have to know who this person is. Why is he disrupting? What is he disrupting? And then
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
yeah. So um going along the lines of disrupting, well, I want to say going along the lines of disrupting, for a man who's about technology, the future, and innovation, what's your favorite when it comes to food? I
Hmm.
wanted to segue it a little bit there. You know.
I'm from Venezuela, so food is as you can imagine, different to probably Nigerian food or American or North
Oh, I have a
American food.
surprise for you on that. I have a surprise for you on that.
Yeah, but yeah, but Venezuela is a very multi-ethnic culture,
Mm-hmm.
and we have. And I was thinking about this recently, and I love to eat, and I really don't have anything that I don't like, to tell you the truth. I don't think I ever had anything that I don't really. I would eat it anyways. When you were a kid in a family of 8 kids, you ate whatever.
Yeah.
You had those days, you had to finish whatever was in the plate before you got up, those days. But I like to eat, and I like the combination of sweet and sweet and salty flavors. In
Mm,
Venezuela is very typical. In my home in Venezuela, my mother would always cook a mix of salt and sweet flavors. If you have ham, you put some sort of a chutney on it. If you had a dough, or we have this thing called arepas, which are cornmeal patties, sort of, and my mom and my grandmother would make them sweet, so sweet and salty, and I would put ham or marmalade, and but there's
nice.
one dish that we eat, especially around Christmas time. It's called hallacas. So
Ah,
hallacas,
is that the
yeah,
one wrapped in the plantain
yeah,
leaves?
yeah, that's it. So
I was
that's
going to
that's very
ask you about
typical.
that.
yeah, it's like a beginning of December. Everyone makes the jackets, and it's a lot of work. It's a family endeavor. You have different stations in the kitchen, and someone is getting the dough ready. Someone is making it flat.
Yeah.
Someone is putting the content. Someone is wrapping it. Someone is so it's always fun to do it, but it's a lot of work for 3 or 4 days, and then you make a lot of them, and then that's all you eat usually. And then the rest of the month, but especially in Christmas and New Year's. So jackets the filling is this sort of combination of meat and pork and chicken and olives and raisins. And my mother put a lot of raisins, a little brown sugar, so it had a sweet and salty taste. And then so that's probably one of my favorite things to do. Good a jacket from mother. It's something that it moves the earth.
See, the ayaka that I had was different to the one you described. My brother Rafa in Florida, when I
Yeah.
first visited, he had some in the fridge. So he didn't tell me what it was. He
Yeah.
just he just picked me up from the airport and was like, "Are you hungry?" I said yes. He said, "There's some stuff in the fridge. I don't know if you've had it before. You might want to heat it up and just try it. I know you eat
Yeah.
everything, so you might want to try it. It's wrapped in some
Yeah.
leaves." So saw it wrapped in the leaves. I was like, "Wow, this looked like Nigerian food," because we have something called moi moi, and moi moi
Uh-huh.
is made from bean paste and it's wrapped in plantain leaves the same way.
Uh-huh.
You place it in a pot. You wrap it when you wrap it in the leaves. You put some sticks in the pot and
Yeah.
place the wrapped leaves in the pot on the
So the
sticks,
steam.
and then you cook it by steaming it.
Yeah. Same.
So
Same.
yeah, same thing. And I was like, huh. So they got moi moi in here. So I warmed it up and unwrapped it, and I was like, wow, it's moi moi. So I took a photo and I posted it on Facebook, and all my Nigerian people were like, "Whoa, you got moi moi? Where you got moi moi from? Wow, they got moi moi in Florida." And everybody's calling moi moi, and I took a taste. I was like, "This don't taste like moi moi, but it looks similar to moi moi." Wow, this is interesting. So I started leaving comments that this is not moi moi, but it does look like moi moi. It's a cousin of moi moi. Looks same shape, everything, wrapped the
Nice.
same. And I'm like, somehow there's some interaction. There's definitely some link between,
Absolutely.
some.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure down the line, back in the days, there was some link between, our
Oh, there
ancestries.
was.
And
Yeah.
but everybody was like, no, the people commenting were like, no, that's moi moi. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can't remember the taste because you've been out of Nigeria for long. I'm like, dude, I know what moi moi is. There are people who make moi moi here, so it's a lot of work to make moi moi too. I
Yeah.
can't commit myself to making moi moi. I just buy it instead. But Nigerians wouldn't believe that wasn't moi moi. Every time I look at the photo, I just keep laughing because it's like all the comments you see, all the Nigerians, even Ghanaians commenting like, "That is moi moi. You found moi moi." They wouldn't believe that it wasn't.
That's interesting.
So that was the first time that I brought Venezuelans and Nigerians together. Just that food.
Well, that's good. That's a good
Yeah.
story, Rafa.
Uh, so yeah, so it's just a beauty. It's a small world, man. It's a small world.
Very small.
Uh, so staying along the fun part. That's are you a man of music?
Yeah, I love music. I'm not a music, connoisseur. I just love music and all sorts of music. I love Latin music, and I love I love drum beats and Latin beat But I really like all sorts of music. I like some quiet piano and classic
Hmm.
and I've got kids and they love music. They're all musical, and they know a lot of, but I don't really know much about it. I just like to hear it, and I never had the chance to play instruments in a real way,
That's all
like
you need just to like listening.
yeah.
That's all.
So,
I don't
yeah.
think I've met a Rafa who doesn't enjoy listening to music.
Yeah.
But are you also a dancer? Because I know my
Ah,
Rafa in Florida. Oh my goodness! Any song you play, he can't stop dancing. He's like, oh, in Venezuela we love to dance. We dance. He just can't. Oh,
yeah.
he dances
Well, I
from.
love to dance. I love to dance. I don't do it too much anymore, really, for years, but I love to dance. As a kid in Venezuela, as a teenager, and then in med school, you go to a party, you dance all night, you're sweating, you're dying, you're dancing nonstop. So I love to dance. I
Yeah,
think
my
dancing
brother
is
was like, "Oh, I should have grown up in Venezuela. I would have been one of the best dancers." I was like, "Wow, he can't stop dancing." I'm like, "Woo, that dude can dance." I'm like,
yeah.
"Yeah, I give him that. I won't tell him that I finally admitted that he's a better dancer than I am." But yeah, I'll let him have that one. All right, so let's return back to medicine. So you know, the medical field is one that keeps expanding and growing. And one thing that makes you unique is your embrace of technology. And I was listening to one of your TED talks, and you brought up how with the you're one of the doctors or surgeons who recognizes the fact that the age we are in, automation is here to stay, and it's not shy to talk about it. And people should recognize it that lots of jobs will be gone or replaced by automation. And how do you see that? Like when you talk to medical students, you address medical students. How do you see that affecting like the medical profession going forward, especially like now that we've had this pandemic that's been that's considered a game changer. How do you see that going forward for the world of medicine?
So Rafa, I think that technology, it's definitely a tool that is more helpful than not. It's all about how we use the technology, right? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
technology is not good or bad. It's the, how the humans they use and think about solving problems. I think that focusing on medicine, we've had technology for many years. That technology is evolving exponentially, very quickly, very not in a linear way, but really exponentially. And I think that that's important to realize. And then as we see medicine, the way we practice medicine today, right, and the medicine, the state of medicine in the year 2020,
Yeah.
it's really shameful. It's really disgusting. I think that I live in Maine in the U.S. I was blessed and privileged to be able to migrate to the States, and to study a lot, and did all my tests, and finally got accepted and did my residency, and then went back to Venezuela, and then came back to the States, and I used the top of the line technology, right? But this is just a very, very tip of the iceberg, right? That's the bubble. Then the real world is out there, with 2/3 of the population that don't even have access to any surgery or safe surgery or affordable surgery. We
True.
have the rest of the population growing and getting sicker, and more people need the help of providers and doctors, healthcare providers, doctors, nurses,
Yeah.
and they can't get it because they don't have the means, or there is no infrastructure, or there's no telecommunications, or there's no electricity, or
Mm-hmm.
how it is in our Latin America, in Africa, how that
Yes.
goes all over the world. So 5 billion people in the world don't have access to safe surgery, for example, or affordable surgery. That's an old statistic from the Lancet Commission, and that's a problem. And I think that we have the means to connect people using technology in a smart way. So if you look at the way we talk, you and I, you are there, I'm here, hundreds, thousands of miles apart, and we're like you're in my office here, like I'm on your studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could do any sort of process interaction with you where I could help you solve a medical problem. And other than touching you, physically, at least yet, I
Yeah.
cannot do that. But everything else, I could examine you, I could answer your questions. So we have the means to communicate and connect better. And I think that the problems in medicine today and forever have been the lack of connectivity or communication. And we have the means of use technology to solve that. And as we increase the amount of offer, then we can supply some of that demand that it's very imbalanced today. We can do teleconferencing, we can do, the phone calls, we can do all sorts of technological means to communicate and help someone solve or prevent a medical problem. These days we always do, we call it healthcare, but we do sick care. We treat
Yeah.
the disease rather than preventing the
To
disease.
prevent.
And that's another thing. We have the technology to improve the quality of life, to prevent disease, to
Mm-hmm.
sanitize water, to provide electricity, to, all those things in my mind, they always, revolving in there. Why are we not using the tools that we have? We have a computer in our pockets, the supercomputer, a smartphone. And if it's not a smartphone, it's a cell phone. And we can use that to communicate and solve problems. There are very good examples in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, where people can get text messages and get answers to their questions, and attachments to smartphones that can help people at a distance examine someone's retina behind the eye, or
Yeah.
examine someone's ear, or all these sort of wearables that we have today that can provide data, vital data, that in a private way and a secure way can be shared to an expert, with an
Mm.
expert anywhere in the world, and then you can act upon the information that you get. So I think that's very powerful. We have the power, with technology used in a smart way, to improve the care and the health of people all around the world, and invert that statistic of 5 billion people not having access to safe healthcare. I think that we must do that. That is a responsibility, and that's one of the reasons why, even though I'm a full-time surgeon, I have this other full-time parallel career, being like you call it, a disruptor, a preacher, an evangelist, of using technology in a smart way to solve how we do and how we teach medicine.
Thank you. Thank you. That's excellent and powerful. Um, as someone who has experienced having had to have a surgery back when I was in Nigeria, and it was a hernia surgery, and there was no power in the hospital, and I had to pay for the hospital to get um, to buy gas for the generator, and
Yeah,
they only had power for just the surgery, and there was no. They asked me if I wanted anesthetics for the surgery. If I didn't want anesthetics, then it was a cheaper surgery anyway. So I was like, why would I want to pay more? And that was like the worst pain I've had in my life. I- that was the worst pain ever. I was like, I don't want to pay more money anyway. So just go without anesthetics. Yeah, that was the worst. And yeah,
yeah,
I can imagine people going through all manner of stuff, and it's crazy. But like there's something important that you mentioned is most of the healthcare in many parts of the world is not preventive. It's treating sickness. That's all it is. And that's why
yeah,
there's a habit of waiting until people are at at a drastic, or they wait until they are at their end before they go to the hospital, because nobody is like, oh, you can prevent this problem. That's why diseases that are not like major illnesses kill people in many parts of the world. Like something small, malaria shouldn't be killing a lot of people, but it's a bigger killer.
yeah,
And when I talk to people in some parts of the world about the coronavirus, and they're like, why should I think about this? Why should I consider this a problem when malaria is still killing a lot of us? And I understand the logic, because malaria still takes out a lot of people. And I'm like, why should malaria still be killing a lot of people in 2020? You
yeah,
know, it's something that could have easily be dealt with, but based on so many factors, all these problems are still in place. So, yeah, that's why technology. That's where technology comes in, because with technology in place, we can handle the teaching, we can handle the training, and we don't have to go with all. We have to build a whole big university all the time. Spend billions upon billions. All these things can be cut down, and you can have universities cut the cost. A university over here can have classes with students all the way over there, like one of your videos pointed out. Like, you can be over here and be lecturing thousands of students across different countries. And, that's saving life, and they can go out and prevent people from dying. And it's something that I wish more people can, you know, will access and learn and hear and see the potential in technology, and realize how powerful This opportunity we have now to improve our healthcare, because healthcare is to me, healthcare is a human right. It,
Absolutely.
it's a human right. It's a human right for everybody should have healthcare. It's access to healthcare is a must for everybody. So thank you very much for saying that. So whoa. So looking back, what do you wish that younger Rafa knew before he started on this journey?
That's a good one, Rafael. Huh? That's a good one. Um, I wish. I guess I wish I'd known some of the hurdles that I was going to face. Uh, I don't know if that would have been maybe much easier than a ride if I knew some of the obstacles and hurdles. It's hard to bring down walls, and it's hard to go around that leaf, like you were saying. Sometimes unless you have a lot of support, I think, from other people, and I think that I wish I had maybe earlier on know the power of communicating, of preaching and evangelizing, like I say, where you can give a message and communicate a message and gather support and teach, educate people about what's available out there, so people help you in this campaign of changing healthcare. When I did my first TEDx back in 2011. I'd been for many years already trying to deal with using technology in healthcare, especially telemedicine, and communicating and connecting with people at a distance to improve healthcare and to do healthcare. But then when I did my first TEDx, and I saw, wow, you can stand there, and then you can be seen by tens of thousands of people and get that message out there, and that's pretty powerful. And then
Yeah.
that's when I started to, I got on Twitter, and I got on social media, and then I started doing more and more speaking engagements, and I love doing that, and I love the traveling. I mean, I usually go for one day and come back, so it's not really tourist travel. It's just I
Mm-hmm.
love I love meeting new places, visiting new places, meeting new people. But again, the power of the word, what you're doing right now, you're telling the story, and that is very powerful. And I wish I knew the power of this 10 years before, 10 years before. And so you can really, because I think that once you tell people what's out there, then people can help you change paradigms. And
Mm.
if you tell a patient that this or that is available, that the doctor can connect with you via a camera. If the patient learned that in a podcast, by Rafael, then when the doctor tells the patient, oh, you just come in for 5 minutes to look at the wound, and you live 100 miles away one way, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to spend the day in the car and spend gas and waste money and miss school or work to go for a 5-minute doctor visit, then the patient is going to say, no, 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 I just saw this where you can have a video chat with your doctor. I heard that on a podcast. I want a video chat. I don't want to travel 200 miles to visit you for 5 minutes.
Mm.
So I think that's a silly example, but it's a very valid one. I think that the more people hear, the more the change comes from within, from below and from within. I think the faster it happens.
It's a good example. I just had my first video um,
Visit.
video visit. Yeah, last week. I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Navy, and uh, a few years ago, I don't think I would have done that, and I would
Yeah.
have been like, yeah, because I used to live in Texas, and going to the VA hospital was like almost an hour drive, and I'll be like, oh, I have to drive there and go, and they didn't have public transport like here in New York, so I would drive down there, be in traffic, and how many times did I miss my appointment? It was difficult to reschedule. Almost like 1 month later, and yeah, I was like, oh man, I could have used video conference for some of the appointments, but
Yeah,
If
yeah.
even if that option was available back then, I still wouldn't have taken it. I'm like, nope, no, 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 I don't think so. No, but I had it this time when I used it last week. It felt good. I was like, yeah, why haven't I tried this before? I was like, yeah, well, I should have been doing this. I should have been doing this before. I should have been doing, but you know, I just thought back to myself, my old self, and I was like, yeah, once upon a time I would have said, no way, no way, I'm not doing this. I'm like, no, 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 I have to go into the hospital. Wait, if there's a long wait, I'll wait there. No, 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 no. That's me. That's me.
That's the
No.
way it is. That's
Yeah.
the way it is.
So, yeah, I'm glad that now I'm open to new learnings and new opportunities, and I've evolved into newer possibilities. So yeah, and even with the podcast, I should have been doing podcasts 2000 since 2008, and people brought the idea to me, and I said, I was nah. People will not like my voice. I don't sound like a typical American. I don't sound like I don't sound like a white guy. I don't have that sexy voice. That's what I said. So why would anybody want to listen to me talking? I was insecure in myself. And no, my voice not good. So 2008, 2009, 2010, somebody put me on her podcast, and I never listened to my voice. I said, no, my voice sounds bad. And then I'll wait until 2016, 2017 before, after receiving, I went to I had to go to the mental clinic, got therapy. And then the therapist is like, you have a great voice. Why don't you do something? I'm like, why is everybody always talking about my voice? Like, everybody's always asking me to do a YouTube video, do stuff. And I'm like, why is everybody always, this voice does not sound good? Why would people want to listen to this voice? And now look at this. I'm here now. So,
You
yeah,
sound good. You sound good.
thank you. uh, so, um, what advice will you give to young boys or girls who want to follow in your footstep?
Well, I I'd say, you know, if it is about the footsteps of medicine, and technology in medicine, I think that you have to stay always, I think, curious. You have to really open your eyes to how the world is changing and what tools are there. And when you see things depicted one way, think about a different way that the story can be told.
Mm,
And if you see a tool that it's advertised as X, think about why not use it for Y instead of X. That's how we have so many problems in the world, and we have so many tools already all tools out there that could solve those problems if we thought about the problem differently. And so being curious and being sort of having a disruptor's mind, I think that's one thing that I would advise. I think that it is important that kids out there, keep learning about technology and it's always advertised as for silly things, not that are not important things, entertainment and
yeah.
music, but think about the potential for the same tool to improve someone's life or to save someone's life. I think that's probably an important advice. I always, tell my kids, and I tell kids, you know, everything you do in the world, whatever you do in the world, at the end, it's all about helping someone. You just help some person or a million people or a billion people. But
Mm,
I think that life is about, at the end, you help someone, and whatever you do, if you have the goal of helping someone. I mean, if you make money, great. If you don't, as long as you help someone, I think that's a good thing. So that's what medicine is about. Helping people and making a difference. And again, medicine, don't accept the standards. Don't accept the established. just try to change the paradigms. And if you have an idea, if you think that a new tool or a tool already there, it could be used to solve that particular problem, just go for it, and don't give yourself don't quit too soon. Just keep trying and keep trying. As long as you have a good idea, I think that if it's about helping someone, it's worth the effort. So that probably be my best advice. And don't think that because your parents didn't do it, or you are you're Hispanic, or you're African American, or you're Asian, or you're white, or you're poor, or you're rich. Don't That's not your label. You are you, and you have an unlimited potential. To do your dreams. And you know just make sure those dreams, eh, at least in part, are about helping people. And I think you can do it. You can do it. There's no limit to the creativity. The only limit is yourself. The creativity, the only limit is your imagination to get there. So
Thank you. That's some great advice. Um, Getting close to wrapping up. Before I get to the final question, I had to use this term once, so I just have to ask about this term before I get to the final question. You like saying exponential medicine. What's that?
Well, exponential medicine is basically the name of a conference, really, of a program.
Mm.
There's this thing called Singularity University. Just something that has to be probably researched, Googled it. But it's about using, about how technology moves in a not in a linear way. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you walk 30 steps, you go 10 meters away, right?
Yeah.
But if you do 30 exponential steps, and you do 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So when you take 10 steps, you already go around the world. So
Mm.
that's what exponential is, an algorithmic
Okay.
equation in a way. So basically, exponential medicine is that using those technologies that are already exponential. If you think about how computers have progressed, and now initially, we're following Moore's law, where the transistors were doubling in capacity every couple of years, and that kept, and now we're going beyond that. And so the power of computing devices today, is really almost unlimited, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what exponential, and then applied to medicine, is how we can make medicine exponential by using those exponential technologies. So that's a conference that happens every November in California. Is the healthcare branch of Singularity University. It's a fantastic conference that
Mm.
brings people all about exponential technologies applied to healthcare.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. God, I noticed on all your TED Talks videos, there was always exponential medicine mentioned. So I was like, I just had to write that down. So, um, before, well, technically, it's the final question. So during your time in the Amazon, did you interact with indigenous people?
People,
And
absolutely, yeah.
so I know all indigenous tribes around the world have had some form of technology way before colonialism and slavery and all that, and that includes in medicine too. But due to like colonialism, had a way of interpreting that rightly or wrongly, depending on what part of the world that had an interaction with them. So do you think that now that we are having more technology and and interacting with medicine, that there's a way for the indigenous tribes or people, medicine, to interact with technology too, and have an interaction together, like a blend, and have a way of like bringing their medicine, because some of them still have medicinal practices that Western medicine has not adapted or has not recognized that could still be useful to the rest of us?
Yeah, yeah, the knowledge and the the level of development of
Hmm.
using natural resources to improve or keep health for thousands of years, right, has been in those populations, right? Not just in in America, but in Africa, in Asia, and the traditional medicine has just begun a few hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the good success stories in traditional traditional meaning in Western medicine, right? I come from tapping the thousands of years of knowledge in those other cultures, right? Indigenous cultures or whatnot. And I think that unfortunately there is so much to learn still when you see the power of natural compounds in plants or roots. It's really mind-boggling. I think that we have so much to learn, and at the same time, I think that there's so much potential that we in the Western can affect in a positive way all those cultures as well in regards to the healthcare. Unfortunately, once there is contact made, there's already a disruption that is usually negative, for those
Yeah.
cultures, right?
Hmm.
And that's why they're disappearing, which is a shame. So I think that we need to really be mindful of how we affect them, and when we try to help, many times we don't help. We actually cause more problems. So it's a difficult, almost philosophical question. There are many tribes in the Amazon, for example, that are haven't had contact, and that's probably the best way to keep them, But at the same time, there's this duality of thought of should we help them, and they're dying from malnutrition, for example, some of them because of the effects of Western civilization on their enclaves.
Yeah.
Should we help or should we just let it be? So it's a difficult question, but I think that it's both ways. I think there's so much we can learn, and I think there's very serious movements to tap on that millennial knowledge from those cultures, and they can benefit from our technology in many ways that are less intrusive and not so damaging to their ways of life. So I think that it's a difficult balance, I think.
All right. Thank you for that, Rafa. Um, well, you've been very kind to us and given us a lot of your time, so can't hold you anymore. And
I'm all
so,
yours. I'm all yours.
no. Hey, we know you're a busy man, so we would love to hold you for as much as possible, but we got to wrap it up somehow. So, final question: is there a word of advice that you'd like to leave the audience with? It could be a quote, or it could be a quote from a book you've read. It could be a mantra that you live by, or it could be even a quote from a song that you just like, but just something you would like to leave the audience with.
Yeah, Rafa, I always saying that it's important that we it's all about the not the technology but the smart use of the technology in order to make us better, to make us better healthcare providers, better humans. If we kind of think about what's been going on in the world, in the last few months, with this COVID-19 that in just a few days or weeks changed the world. For example, in regards to telehealth, doing video calls all over, we can't go
Mm-hmm.
physically, so it forced us to use the technology in a smart way. When we were trying for decades to struggling, to go through hurdles to do telemedicine, for example, and the COVID, did it in just a few days.
Yeah.
But not just that, but in the last few days, the world has waken up to to the status quo of injustice inequality. And if you think about what's going on in the U.S. and how that is going everywhere in the world, there's no place that is not seeing this and is not acting, because it's not a problem just in the U.S. It's a worldwide problem where we seem to be not just one human race, but many, subhuman groups, considered subhuman groups, when we are indeed all the same. And if we see how, in a way, technology is enabling that movement and that fight, and that clamor for justice and equality and human rights. And you said it, healthcare is a human right. So I think that you can bring technology there, and it's about the smart use of technology, to make yourself heard, to make sure that human rights are granted, from healthcare to life, to education, to everything that one can think of. So I think that we need to wake up and change the way that we think of the world, and technology can help on that. But I guess that's sort of my final message. The last few weeks have been so turbulent, and so real, and so good in the way that things are happening, and that I'm just hoping that the world will be a better world very soon.
Thank you. I think that's very important that you brought that up, because yeah, this was supposed to be an episode that was mostly medical focused, but yeah, technology, good use of technology cuts across just medicine. It affects everything, and
Yeah,
like the current protests are showing, it's technology, good use of technology is about human rights, it's about justice, it's about if you are human rights affects your healthcare, it affects your justice system, it affects your criminal reforms, it affects everything, it affects our life. And it's not just an American problem, it's worldwide. And that's why it's resonating around the world. And we are seeing people protesting around the world and aligning, supporting this, asking for justice for not just George Floyd, but they're also relating it to their situations in their countries and asking for the right thing to be done in their countries too. And then, that's how I interpret it. And and people are, because like in Nigeria right now, there's other cases. There's a rape, there's gender violence that there's a protest against gender violence going on in Nigeria, and but it's technology that was used to gather people to say, hey, this is what's happening. We don't want this to stop. And without technology, it would have been difficult to get people to say, come out and do this. South Africa has had something similar, and other places you're seeing it around the world. Venezuela had protests not long ago, and everywhere you're seeing people come out and say enough is enough. We want better. We stand for justice. We stand for our rights. We are fed up with being mistreated, and yeah, and it's the proper use of technology that's all about. Use it the right way, and you get the right results. Use it the wrong way, and you get the wrong results. And that's all it's about. So thank you very much.
yeah.
I appreciate
No,
you for
my
coming
pleasure.
on. So do you have
My
any
pleasure.
plugins that you would like to leave us with? I'm going to add your website to and your social media handles on the show notes when I
Great.
release this episode.
Great. No, yeah, please. I love to keep the conversation open, and those are the best ways, in Twitter and LinkedIn and in my website. But it's really an honor, Rafael, to sit here with you and share some time, and hopefully we can do it again soon. And it's really important to do it. I think that I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that you and yours and your family stay healthy and safe out there, okay, in New York, and out there, on the streets. So I really appreciate your
Thank you.
candor and your questions.
Thank you. The honor is all mine. Anytime you're in New York, after all this dies down, please hit me up. We'll go find some yaka, or I'll take you to go eat
There
moi
you
moi,
go.
and
That's gonna happen. I hope so. We can travel. Let's do it. Let's
All
make it a
righty.
date.
All righty. Thank you and
Have a
bye.
good one. Man.
All
You
right.
take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Thank you all for joining us, and you all have a good one. See you at the next episode. Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, we'll appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. If you have any questions, comments, or have someone who will be a good guest on the show, or you want to be on the show, send us a message at whitelabelamerican@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at White Label American. Thank you for your support.